Krista,
Jay,
welcome.
thank you. Look at my new little
Yeah, I know you
C3
got a new.
Industries.
I don't know if I can point to it. Yeah, you got a new thing here, and
Yes.
so let's start here. In today's newsletter, Cultivated newsletter, we
Okay.
have this people moves, usually reserved for people we don't necessarily know as well as we know you, but today
Okay.
it is about you. It says,
Oh my goodness.
yeah, you're made the prime time. You're always
Uh,
on prime time.
I'm official now.
You're
I made it to
official.
Cultivated newsletter.
It's not news until it hits the Cultivated newsletter. It says Vetrina is joining C3 Industries as in-house strategist, according to Vetrina founder and friend of Cultivated. That was my addition to it.
Ah, that's so
Krista
cute.
Raymer. Raymer will become C3's chief strategy officer. Vetrina began serving as a retail consultant to C3 last year before the latter company decided to make it official. Yeah, that's you
Yes.
guys.
Yeah, that's us. That's what happened.
That's it. That's the whole story.
That's the whole story.
What does it mean? What does a chief strategy officer do at C3 Industries, which, for those that don't know, is a multi-state operator? You're going to tell me what
Yes.
states they're operating in.
Missouri, Michigan, Massachusetts, New Jersey, Connecticut,
I
with
saw
Kentucky
Connecticut this
coming
morning on
online.
LinkedIn. I saw Connecticut
Mhm.
this morning on LinkedIn.
Yes, yeah, we've got a location opening there.
Nice.
Yep.
Some of my old stomping grounds.
Okay.
And last year at Benzinga, which is actually next week, I was on stage with Ankur, the CEO founder. So give us a bit about what the chief strategy officer is going to do, and maybe a bit of the background about the decision to do it.
Yeah, I mean, I think that the title is always an interesting title because it's like, what does strategy actually mean? But for us, it's going to mean what playing field are we playing on? So defining how are we going to win? Where do we have the right players? Where do we need the right players to be able to be competitive? And we are in some very competitive states. The majority of our stores are based in Michigan and Missouri, and so we've got to have a dialed in approach in defining exactly like what game are we trying to play, where are we going to put the field, and what players are we going to put on the field. And so the team has done amazing work so far. I'm really lucky to be able to join a group that is so data driven, but also that had so many great operators here before myself and the Vetrina team joined. And the gals from Vetrina are now embedded in different areas of the business, which is really cool. So it's not like we are just moving in-house and we've got a team within the org. It's actually that they have joined different teams within the org. And so we've got an opportunity to kind of like get to know the business, but also be able to share and bring some of the data insights that we pulled over the last 6 years from working in the industry.
Yeah. And bring approach that you and the Vetrinas is what a lot of people call you, your crew,
Yeah.
I've seen in other verticals, right? In other parts of
Yeah.
retail.
Yeah.
And what you describe a lot here on Thursdays is how to take that data or how to understand that data and how to apply it and then
Yeah.
train against it and build against it and all those things. And of course, it's different doing it in-house versus doing it as a consultant, but I would imagine it is both has been and will be rewarding to see
Yeah.
it, to be able to guide and then influence and then sort of see the results.
Yeah, no, it's been really cool to also be able to bring team members along for the ride and see how something comes to life and also where we potentially need to adjust or relook at or present a different KPI to better understand something. And so as questions are coming up, that's been one of the things that I've enjoyed the most. We've kind of like officially just announced, but I've been about in the role for a month and a half. And so within that, I've gotten a chance to also get to know what data points is the team's looking at today? What data points do we want to be looking at in the future to better understand our customer and ultimately serve our customer in the best way we can? So
Yeah.
it has been a learning curve in the best way, and the team here has been amazing. But I think looking forwards, we look at these states, and some of these states are tough. Like Michigan is a tough place to be, and so we really need to be taking a look at the business, taking a look at the macro picture, as well as the regional picture that is Michigan, and say, okay, like the field that we put our stores on originally, like, is that where we want those stores? How do we want to play within those stores based off of how maybe the environment has shifted and changed?
And you talk about that a lot. It wasn't even that many weeks ago. We talked about looking at year over year data is helpful if you're
Yeah.
maybe 3 years in. Whereas real-time data may be more helpful because the field shifts dramatically based
Yeah.
on competitors down the street, based
Mhm.
on products being available, based on consumers being more knowledgeable and leveling off. And that, it seems to me, is a little bit of three-dimensional chess because Michigan is different than Missouri, but maybe they're closer connected in terms of the stores and the markets and the products than, say, a Connecticut, which is at a very slow rollout, and a
Yeah.
different kind of model for sure. But also in Connecticut, people have easy access to Massachusetts and New York, right? Like there seems to me like it's not that every store is different, but every store operates on a different field, as you're saying, with a different team and a different market with different products. And how challenging is that, sort of from your strategy sort of standpoint, to sort of understand that? Because it's not like opening up, you were drinking Starbucks,
Mhm.
not like opening up a Starbucks, but even Starbucks does this, right? Like they will test markets and see how it works and see if their offering is what people want. But is it a bit of like understanding the 2, 3, 10 block radius of a store and the consumers within it, and also the macro picture of what a market looks like?
Yeah, I mean, we have started to identify that we've got a couple different profiles of stores within our portfolio. They act very differently. Some of them act very similarly to the same kind of profile in another state. We also have really different capabilities by state too. Like we're vertically integrated in three, and so it is a level of complexity that from a market to market we've got to understand.
Yeah.
But that being said, is we have some core retail principles around trying to understand who our customer is, what they like to be purchasing, and how we can start to anticipate behavior so that we can make sure that the inventory is in the right place, the promos that we're running on the right cadence are working, and that really the price points are resonating with the customers that we are servicing. And so, retail principles across the entire org, but like how they come to life on a per state basis is definitely different, because Illinois, for example, operates completely differently than, say, for example, even Connecticut or definitely than Michigan. So
Yeah.
you need a different set of skills and or thoughts to be able to exercise well in those states. And so it's important that we also have that level of like statewide subject matter expertise within the business itself.
When you were talking about the different environments and different markets, it brought to mind that it was just over 5 years ago when I was
Okay.
not at this company, but a previous one. You were not at C3 Industries, but you're the early days of Vetrina. And we
Yeah.
were talking at an event we were hosting online. It was COVID, so it was online. Um,
Okay.
and you were talking about sort of the origins of Vetrina getting into cannabis,
Hmm.
and what opened your eyes to it was visiting. I don't want to call them out because they are actually still around, but a store you went into. I won't even give it what it is because it'll give it away. A store
Yeah.
you went into, and your thought was like, "Oh no, they don't know anything about retail." People can go back and look at this conversation if they really, really wanted to. But like thinking about the first moment you walked into a legal dispensary in Toronto,
Yep.
the idea went off like, oh no, these folks they're getting into cannabis without any real understanding of retail. To
Yeah.
now,
Yeah.
like it's, first of all, it seems like 5 decades, not 5 years. That's the first thing.
Yeah.
Second, I mean, a lot more gray hair. Um, and like there are operators that are, even what you just described is like taking in data and understanding your consumers in different markets, and you have stores across different states that might look the same and others that don't. Like that seems very robust and complex to where our first conversation was 5 years ago. And even though not a ton has changed, and more states have come online, but the federal government hasn't done anything.
Hmm.
Like, is this where you thought the industry would be 5 years hence, or like, was it even impossible to think about then? Because I don't remember thinking about it then.
That, oh man, I don't, I thought that the industry would have evolved differently than what it has. Um, I I'm biased. Like I'm a retail gal through and
Yeah.
through, so I'm totally biased. But I would have thought that we would have adopted some different retail strategies by now. And so when I went into that first store, I specifically remember thinking about like, okay, the bud tenders at the time didn't feel super comfortable in talking about the products, but the products weren't presented to the customer in a way that they understood and could digest the information either. That was both true in terms of like pricing as well as in-store displays. And we're still trying to figure that out. And so I think the evolution of the industry has also been very fragmented. And so there's learnings that happen within some states that don't happen within other states because of regulations. And so at the time, like I would have been answering your question, or we would have been talking from a context of Canada. But even within the US, it's quite different because of the regulatory environments on a per state basis. And so, yeah, I think I'm surprised that some of the retail best practices around inventory and assortment, promotional practices hasn't embedded itself in the way that maybe I anticipated that it would. But it's still a lot of the same themes that are still problems in retail. They're not uniquely cannabis problems; they're uniquely retail problems.
Right.
Retail is one transaction at a time with a lot of customers, and so to be able to swing a business one way or the other, like it takes a lot of work to build up the momentum to have those customers as well. So I guess I'm both surprised and also not surprised that we are sitting here having maybe a different but a version of the same conversation.
Yeah, that seems like a long time ago, though, doesn't it?
It feels like a really long time ago.
Yeah, it was
Yeah.
it was a long time ago, in fairness. But it also is a bit of every operator, even if they were legacy operators or retail people, and we know some, right, like people that from coffee or other places got into cannabis. Like there are unique challenges to cannabis, and retail is retail, one product, one interaction at a time.
Yeah. Yeah. Think about what the price of a eighth was
Yeah,
when we had that
yeah,
conversation. And like think about the price of the eighth now in those markets. And I think that that's like both from a production perspective really difficult, but also from a retail perspective really difficult because basket sizes and the reality of what a basket size looks so different today than it would have 5 years ago. And again, dependent on a per state basis or even a province basis in Canada. But yeah, like did you anticipate and did as an industry when we were talking about that think that pricing compression was going to hit so aggressively within that 5 year span? I don't think that I saw that coming. But once it did start to come, and like now that it is here in most states, like I don't think it's going anywhere anytime
right.
soon.
You just got
So
to plan for it.
we've got to figure out how to
Yeah.
work within that environment. Yeah.
Yeah. It reminds me the days I used to run marathons, all two of them. There's something about dress for the finish line. Like even though it's freezing when
Okay.
you start, dress for the finish line. It's a bit of like plan your business for that day when pricing compression
Yeah.
happens, as opposed to like day two.
Yeah. Yeah. And even for this space, I think in traditional retail, we would often have conversations about 3 years from now, 5 years from now. I think being able to even say, what do we want to do a year from now? Where do we think we're going to be a year from now? Where do we think we're going to be 6 months from now? I see it within our own teams here, but it's like it's really easy to get caught up in month to month, quarter to quarter.
Yeah.
But we do need to say, what are we trying to move towards? Because we have two different speeds within the business. We have cultivation, which is operating on like almost basically a 6 month time horizon of
Right.
what we're planning. But then at retail, we're on a week to week. What do the stores need? Who do we need within those environments to service the customers that we have coming in? So you've got at any point within the business, we've got like a gas pedal and like also someone actively trying to slow it down to pick up the head and say,
Yeah.
where do we need to be in 6 months or a year?
Well, Krista, C3 Industries has done very well for themselves with you and the team at Vetrina. We appreciate your work here with us over a long time, and hopefully we continue to do that, and wish you and the team well at C3.
Thank you, Jay.
And for anybody who didn't see it, it's probably because you don't get our newsletter inbox every day, but you should. And you can do it by going to cultivated.news. Always be selling. Krista, we'll see you soon. Congratulations. And I like the new digs.
Thank you. Yeah, we gotta decorate the office a little bit, but thanks for having me, Jay.
You got it. It's very corporate. In a
Very
good
corporate
way.
looking.
I'm sure it's cool. It also looks like very corporate. So good for you. Congratulations to you and the team. We'll check in with you soon.
Okay, thanks, Jay.
You got it.